Okay, so in this example, it says find and graph the equation for a function, we're going to call it g of x, that reflects f of x, so this is the parent function here, about the x-axis, state its domain, range, and asymptote. Okay, so it might be helpful to just graph a quick little picture of the parent function. So say you have x, f of x, and we kind of know what it's going to look like, hopefully, but if I put in -1, 0, and 1, that'll give me 3 points, and I can see what the f of x is looking like. Okay, so if I put in -1, I get an output of 4. If I put in 0, I get an output of 1, and if I put in 1, I get an output of 1/4. So that's going to look like this curve. It's going up pretty quickly, but that would be f of x. Now we're going to graph g of x, and we also want the equation. So if I need this parent function to reflect about the x-axis, and that's the only change that I'm going to have, then I'm going to have g of x is equal to 1/4 to the power of -x. Now, I can rewrite that as 4 to the power of x. I'm sorry, I just reflected it about the y-axis. That's not what we want to do. Ignore all that. We want to reflect it about the x-axis. That means flipping it upside down. Sorry about that. It's early in the morning. Okay, so then our g of x needs to look like the opposite of, I would write it this way, 1/4 to the power of x, like that. You need those parentheses. You don't want that negative sign inside the parentheses, because then that's going to change things. Remember, we need b to be greater than 0 for these exponential functions. So that could have been tricky, but be careful on that. So the negative sign will be in front of the base, not inside the parentheses. Okay, so then that's going to flip this across the x-axis, or reflect it about the x-axis. So we'll have points at -1, -4, down there, and then we'll have a point at 0, -1, and then a point at 1, -1/4. You could make a table of values for this as well. I don't know that you need to, but you could. If you plug in, you're going to get -1/4. I'm sorry, -4. Let me write that out so you can see it. When you're taking that -1 for x, what you would get in g of x would be g of -1 would equal the opposite of 1/4 to the -1. Now that exponent that's negative, that's going to make it reciprocal to 4, but then you're still going to have that opposite sign, which is in front. So you're going to get -1, -4. If you put in 0, you're going to have g of 0 is going to equal the opposite of 1/4 to the 0. But 1/4 to the 0, this part is 1, so you're going to get the opposite of 1. And then if you put in the 1, you're going to get the opposite of 1/4 to the first power. That's just going to be -1/4. And those are the points that we have drawn here. So it's going to look, it's going to look kind of like that. And that would be g of x. So that's the graph. This is the equation. That's what they wanted. Oh, we have to state the domain and the range. Okay, so the domain here is going to be all real numbers. The range is going to be from -infinity up to 0, and the asymptote is still y equals 0. So they wanted us to write that too. So they wanted the graph, the equation, and then the domain, range, and asymptote. Okay, so that's how that problem works.